Hello, everybody. Welcome to the 6th episode of the Highly Intelligent Podcast. We're out here in the woods this time around, just because I found myself kind of here, and that's what I feel like doing. So, yeah, welcome to the 6th episode, the Highly Intelligent Podcast. And I know it's been a while since I've made one of these officially person to person, because I had the one in the car with my friends that was kind of a podcast, but not really. So I'm taking it back to the roots, and I know I've recorded this episode. Technically, it would be my 5th if the one in the car wasn't my 5th, but I've tried to record this like 3 or 4 times, and I've deleted it twice already. So the last one I made that was only me was like 3 months ago, maybe 4 months ago, in June, and I deleted that one. And then I had one before that, which I think is privated, but here is the official 5th one, even though it's the 6th. So we're out here in the woods, we're chilling, and I'm going to focus mainly on my thoughts on my graduation and what my life is really going to be from now on, I guess, because I don't really know what's going on here. But one thing I will say first is you're going to hear some cars pass by. I'm near a road. It happens. With roads, there are cars. But so I graduated, and I have to go back to the high school for a big test, like a state government thing that they make me take, called an EOC. I have to go back because I failed one of those last year. But I'm trying to talk to one of the people to try to convince them that I don't have to go back, and I have a good enough grade in that class to where I can just skip it and I'll be fine. But the outcome isn't looking so good, so I technically have graduated, but I need to go back and do that test again. Even though if I failed it last year, I haven't learned anything since last year, so I'm most likely just gonna fail it again. And also, if I don't look very flattering, I blame the sun. It's kind of fucking me up, but hold on, I was just checking myself out. I kind of look fat right now, which, not my fault. The camera angle is kind of like making me look fat. But then again, I kind of am gaining weight, but not in the places that I want, So it's going all to my face and my unfortunate facial hair. If you can even really call it facial hair, But yeah, I graduated, and where my life goes from here, I am completely unaware of, because I don't have any plans for a job. Or by that, I mean I don't know what I want to do for a job. I'm planning on getting one. I just don't know what I'm going to do. And, car, I have no car. License, I don't have a license. I know you're probably thinking, how can you be 18 without a license? But, that's just kind of what happens, at least in my life. I just, never really had the need for one. But I guess now that I'm kind of done with the childhood part of my life, I probably need one to go and do my own shit, So, but also, I just kind of need a driver's license for the rest of my life, because most adults have driver's licenses, unless they're rich as fuck and they just have somebody to drive them everywhere. Which, I have people who can drive me places, but everywhere is an overstatement. They don't even want to come and pick me up from my house half the time. So, but jobs, I don't know. I'm thinking I might go back to Key West and start a new life by myself. And Key West, motherfuckers ride bikes, they ride bikes. Even though I don't think I'll be riding a bike. Hold on, I'm going to fix the camera just a little bit. I don't think I'll be riding a bike. I think I will have my license by then, but I might go to Key West. I might get a job, and maybe I can have my house be kind of like the cool tropical hangout spot for all of my friends who are living up here where I'm at now, And, living alone in Key West is kind of a hard thing, but if you're living like me, who doesn't really need a large space to live in, doesn't really need a lot in his life to survive, I feel like I could make it work. But then again, it's one of the most expensive places in America, so not really sure if I can make that work just yet. I'm 18. I want to be gone, I want to be out of the house I'm at now. I want to be out of the fucking rural place I'm at. I hope I'm using that word correctly. From my knowledge, rural means out in the country, right? So yeah, that's where I'm at. And I don't want to be out here. I want to be kind of in a city around people, uh, and also not have to drive fucking 40 minutes to civilization. That is not an understatement, by the way. So I do want to do something in a city, maybe even like Jacksonville, Tallahassee, Orlando, Miami, Tampa. Those are kind of like when I'm floating around in my head. And notice how they're all in Florida. That's kind of where I want to be situated for my life, because Florida is kind of the best state. They have the craziest people, the nicest people, the ugliest people, the prettiest people, best jobs, worst jobs. They got everything. And the only place I could think of anywhere else in the country would be the coast of Louisiana and maybe the coast of Georgia. But that's only because they're on the coast. It's like Florida, but you're dealing with a lot more fucking racist people, allegedly. I don't know. I've never been to anywhere around those places. Never been to Louisiana or the fucking shore of Georgia, but maybe I will in the future. And I've been around basically everywhere in Florida. I've basically explored that bitch like I was Christopher Columbus exploring America. But really, yeah, that's probably my plan, is to go to Florida again and restart the life there, or you start mine even. It's just kind of a thing that's been running through my head for the past few years. Obviously, you can't move out when you're not 18, right? You just be kind of like a foolish person for that. And I needed to graduate high school, right? So I've done that. And I really don't want to be cooped up here for another year, I'll be honest with you. So I want to kick everything into motion, but for that I need to get my license fast, and I need to get a good paying job pretty fast as well. Which I have family in Florida, so maybe I could hang out with them for a little while, get a job there, and then get on my feet and then get my own kind of decent place. That's definitely an option I could do. It's not a bad option. It's a very plausible option for me, because that's just simply probably the best thing I could do, considering I'm straight out of high school, no college, and I have family who have jobs in Florida. So it's very convenient for me. I've had a very good upbringing as of recently. I don't know why I'm talking about that, but it's just kind of like the younger parts of my life are over, and I'm just kind of beginning to accept that. It's kind of fucked up to think that all those hours, all those times as a kid are gone, and now I have to actually lock in and do something with my life, because if I don't, then I'm gonna have to start fucking selling crystal on the street like I'm Walter White or some shit, even though he was a teacher. He was making money, he had a job, and he was also making millions from the meth, which I don't think my meth would be very good if I made it. So yeah, I failed chemistry. But in all actuality, I am just kind of looking for something to do. I want to be alone, kind of like I want to try to fucking like raw dog the rest of my life. I kind of want to try everything that I can on my own, or at least away from maybe influences that I've had in my past, such as yeah, I don't know what the fuck I'm talking about, but as I was saying, I kind of want to do everything kind of alone. I've kind of always wanted to do that, like get an apartment by myself, or not even necessarily by myself, but maybe even with friends. That'd be fun. But also, I just like the feeling of being independent. I always have, even though I haven't really been able to do that so far, because I just, never got the license. So if you don't have a license, you can't exactly drive by yourself, and you can't do independent things. And never had a job, so I can't be independent on my money, because I don't have any money myself. So that is kind of on me. And I am kind of just now realizing that I probably should have escaped from the little social cocoon I was in, where I just kind of trapped myself and stayed at home for years on end, which I obviously, I wouldn't recommend doing. But, I turned out the way I am now, which, good or bad, it's who I am. So, and I happen to like myself a whole lot more right now than I have in previous years, just simply because I feel I've matured and in a way that I can appreciate, in a way that I feel that people can enjoy as well. You know, I'm no longer the obnoxious little asshole who runs around saying a bunch of bullshit, fucking with people. You know, that's not who I'm not. That's not who I am anymore. And you know, if you knew me as somebody who did that, my bad, I guess. But we'll have to have another conversation. You can judge me based on who I am now and not who I was even a year ago. And I've changed so much from a year ago even. And you know, if I would have told myself a year ago that I have graduated high school and I'm now have faith in Jesus Christ, I would not have believed myself. It's been a very recent revelation, and I haven't told anybody in my family about that. Only like 4 friends probably. And yeah, I found faith in God, and it's kind of matured me as a man, made me into a better person. Yeah, I still cuss and all that, which I try not to do. You know, I try not to do a lot of stuff, but I still tend to fall back into the old ways. But there's an effort that I put forward to try to avoid doing what I used to do, and also to follow Jesus. You know, that's kind of my goal right now, is to do all that. And I don't go to a church or nothing. I just kind of, you know, I read excerpts and I hear the words of Jesus that I you know, hear online. I read online, and you know, I pray a lot, which is, you know, saying this to the camera is kind of like a huge step for me, because this is me kind of like soft launching that I believe in Jesus. Not really soft launching you, because I'm just kind of fucking telling you. Sorry for cussing, but I'm just telling you that I do, which isn't a very popular thing in my family. Which, you know, it's kind of why I never told anybody. And, you know, it's not that they'll look at me a different way. It's just that if they ever were to, I wouldn't want that to happen, so I just don't, you know what I mean? And it can lead to some awkward situations, because I have some people in my family who are openly against it, I'd say, which sucks. And I never told them flat out not to be like that, but I have kind of tried to influence them to stop talking bad about certain things about religion. But, you know, again, talking to somebody like that, it's kind of, you know, you don't want to be around it, but you also kind of want to help them. It's a weird thing. But yeah, so my future will be with God, obviously. And you know, from my perspective last year, looking at my life today, I think that I would go apeshit, you know, because I wasn't an atheist. I guess I don't know what it's called. It's called like a agnostic, whatever, where it's like you're not 100% sure, but you're not also like, you're not doubting anything. Agnostic, I think is what it's called. But I was kind of in that phase, but I was leaning more towards atheism, I think is what it's called, where you don't believe in anything. I was kind of leaning more towards that. And you know, to see myself a year later and go, damn, like I feel like I would respect myself if I was a year younger and I saw my future self. I feel like I'd respect the decision, and I feel like I would try to be like my future self, because even just a year ago, I was kind of looking for, how do I say, a role model. I was kind of looking for a role model, but I didn't find it in anything, you know. Nobody around me was kind of anybody who I wanted to be like, and nobody I've ever met was anybody who I ever wanted to be like. So I just kind of decided to myself that I had to be my own role model. And that's kind of what I've been doing, you know. It's like, if I want to see myself doing amazing things in the future, then I have to look to my future self as a role model and kind of morph myself into the person that I want to be. And a major part of that was finding faith in Jesus. And a wasp just landed next to me. It's gone now. But yeah, that was a pretty big step in my life, and I feel like that'll probably be the biggest step in my life in general, because, you know, it doesn't get much bigger than believing in God. You know, it kind of saves you forever. You know, that's kind of what Jesus does. You know, you just put your faith in him, and he'll show you the right path for you. And you just gotta hope you don't die along the way, which is kind of where I'm at right now. You know, I'm not afraid of dying, but it would suck if I did. Like, I'm sure some of you get that. It's like, I don't want to die. And if it did, it would be terrible. But I'm also like, you know, I'm not fearful for my life whenever I walk outside. And I feel like fear itself kind of fucks up your life too. Because, again, a year ago, I was scared of all different types of things. I was scared of where I was socially. I was scared that I'll grow up to be a nothing. And now I just kind of realize that fear and that worry, it brings you down to the path of what you feared the most, you know? So I try not to think about any of the negative stuff that could happen. You know, I just kind of try to envision a future that I would be proud of. And I go, yeah, I'm going to keep on dreaming about that. And, you know, if I stumble my way into that future, that'll be amazing. And if I stumble my way into a future that I would still enjoy, that's fine too. But then again, you know, you never really know anything in life. That's kind of, I've been told that by a lot of people, is just, life is just kind of a bunch of people just taking risks, not knowing what they're doing. And if it works out, then great for them, you know. And the sun is blinding me right now. I'm not sure if you can tell. The sun is surely blinding me, but aside from that, I'm good. It's also getting a little hot out here. I'm wearing 2 jackets right now because I don't like the cold. I was born in Key West. I am not used to cold. And a gunshot just went off. So, you know, might be putting myself in danger being out here. But then again, it's fine. It's all fine. You know, you shouldn't worry. Like, oh, what's going to happen? Is a bullet going to come flying through the trees and hit me in the back of the head? I don't think so, you know. And if it does, then that's just a really bad marksman. And he shouldn't be hunting anyways. But yeah, I mean, God is cool and lit. You guys should believe in Jesus. It saves you, you know. It saved me from a lot of stuff happening in my life. I won't go too deep into it just because that's kind of cringe, you know what I mean? You know, I don't want to talk about my personal bullshit because there's no real point to talking about it, considering, you know, what the hell are you going to talk about it for? For attention? No, you know, I want to keep that shit to myself, and I want to reflect as a person on what I've done. I don't want other people to try to see the changes that have happened in my life for me. You know, I want to see that for myself. So I tend to keep everything personal in my, you know, I tend to keep everything personal. But stuff like this, I'm happy to share just because, you know, I can proudly say that the person I was last year pales in comparison to who I am now. Even if I got a little uglier, you know, even if I got a little fatter in the face and in the belly there, it's fine, because at the end of the day, I'm sure I'll lose the fat eventually, right? I mean, the fat has to go away, right? I mean, there needs to be at least one point in my life where I have a sharp jawline. That I mean, it's kind of scientifically proven, right? Because I'm pretty sure men go through like they don't stop growing and like molding until they're like 25, and then from 25 and on, they just get older. But you know, there's also a chance that my face doesn't lose the fat and I have these chubby cheeks right here forever, which again, you know, it isn't the worst thing. You know, I could be fucking ugly as shit for the rest of my life. And you know, me personally, I don't think I'm ugly. From an outsider's perspective, you might think that I am, but then again, I've never seen myself from an outside perspective. So hold on, wait, I gotta take a call real quick. My mother's calling. All right, I'm back, and one thing I realized is that I walked out into these woods carrying a tripod and a phone, so it probably looks like I was going into the woods to fucking jerk off on camera, dude. And I just think that's hilarious, and it kind of also reminds me of something else, where whenever you look up my name on YouTube, my channel pops up, and so does Poop Fiber Pills, which I think is just fucking I think it's pretty funny whenever you look up my name and the second result is a pill that makes you shit. I think that's pretty fucking funny myself. But hopefully when I get big enough, those companies will not show up whenever you look up my name. And I hope that none of those companies try to sue me, because I thought of that name completely originally, and I had nothing to do with any of those companies. And I'm actually going to take you through the process of me making that name, since people have asked me about it, like, what's the name? And I'll take it. I'll explain it to you now. So split my name into two parts. You have Mally, which is preferably what I'd like people to call me in the future, like YouTuber friends, obviously, if not just my first name, Mason. So Mally, and then Rax, and Malarax, obviously. So to make that name, I kind of wanted a YouTuber name. I was like, dude, if I'm going to become a YouTuber, I need a fucking cool ass name, I can't just have my name be Mason 808s, you know what I mean? So what I decided was, okay, I have to make this sound like a kind of like a streamer name also. So I looked up random countries in Africa. All right, I looked up random countries in Africa, and I was going to change that into a name. And so also there's a lot of gunshots going on right now, so just be warned. So I looked up random countries in Africa, and Mali was one of them, so Mali, okay, I was like, okay, Mali's good, but should that be the whole name, or should that just be the first part? And so, I decided that should just be the first part. And so for the second one, I wanted it to be kind of short. I wanted the second part to be kind of short because I don't want a really long name. So I was thinking of, what's a short name that I like a lot? And at the time, I loved Star Wars: The Clone Wars. And my favorite clone trooper was Commander Rex. And I was like, dude, Mally Rex? That's kind of fire. But then I was like, well, I don't want to be Rex. So I just changed the E to an A. And now we got Malarax, which I think, rolls off the tongue a lot better. And, it's not a bad name, honestly. I give myself hella credit for making that name, even though people might make fun of me for that name right now. There's a chance that, that name becomes legendary, and it becomes like a thing. It's like, damn, I wish I thought of that fucking name, And coincidentally, one of my friends at the time, I still consider him a friend, but we just haven't talked in years. He has a YouTube channel, and he named himself something kind of similar. I won't say it just because I'm not sure if he wants it publicized, because he kind of changed it. But he named it something similar, and then he was like, bro, you fucking copied me. And I was like, no, dude, I went through a whole ass process to make my name. We just coincidentally ended up with kind of like the same sounding name. I don't quite remember his name, but I do remember it was very, very similar to mine. And it's like, dude, eventually one of us might have to change our shit. And so, a few years later, he changed his shit, and then we just stopped talking. But that's just the way life goes. You meet some people, you stop talking to them. It's like Kanye said, not to quote Kanye, but he says people are in your life for seasons. And that's kind of true, because some people, they are just in your life for a season, 2 seasons, 3 seasons. Seasons of like weather, not like, your life is a fucking TV show or nothing like that. But people are in your life for seasons. And I reminisce with that because it's true with how my life has gone so far. I've had a lot of people go in and out of my life. I haven't had one consistent friend throughout my entire life, except for like my cousins maybe, but that's family, that's not friends. So, I have this group of friends now. I met one of them my freshman year of high school, but we didn't really become real friends until my 11th grade year. And same with all my other friends right now. All my other friends right now, I started talking to in 11th grade. And 11th grade is kind of when I started to begin my my faith in Jesus. So I kind of, Jesus is a reason why I have all the, the great friends that I have right now, which I'm very happy for. And I hope they stay in my life for more than seasons. I hope they stay in my life for years. And because your dad has those friends that are around for his whole life. He talks about shit from high school. So I'm hoping to have kind of those friends, or, maybe I'll grow up without those friends and just kind of have to make a whole bunch of friends throughout my entire life, which I see in the content creator space a lot. I see people are friends for not a very long amount of time, but I also think that's because people in the content creator space are generally not good people. So hopefully when I get big into the content creator space, I can make some good friends and, have them, have have good connections with people that are not just strictly for money and content, like having friends outside of content, because that's something that I don't see a lot in the content creator space. Even just looking from an outside perspective on like the bigger guys, even though I've been doing YouTube way longer than any of the bigger guys have, like as of right now. I've been doing YouTube since I was like fucking 8, except it's all on different accounts, of course. And one of my accounts I got 1,400 subs on, forgot the fucking email and password to, and I had to reset. And I remember the first video I made on this channel, it's since deleted by now, but it got 1,400 views. It was a video of me doing a little Dark Souls meme, back when I used to play Dark Souls, back when I was a fucking virgin loser, which I was like 11. But I've been in the YouTube space for a long time. I've been making videos since fucking like 4th or 3rd grade. So, it's kind of on and off thing for me. But then I had that big break where I decided to make it again, probably 2 years ago. And then I deleted all those videos after I got to like 214 subs. And then I deleted all of them, made the music that's technically going to be the beginning of this channel. If you go to my oldest videos, it's like 5 music videos. I decided to make that. I wanted to focus on music, but then I realized that I hate my voice, so I can't make music. I can only really make beats. And so I started to do YouTube to try and come to terms with my voice. And also I made the Mali mixes just so I can have music put out there without my voice. I like music a lot. Do I want that to be my whole career? No, not really. I want to be YouTube. I've always wanted to do YouTube, and streaming has always seemed fun to me. But I've tried streaming. If you just go to my live page, you can see I've tried streaming a lot. But my Wi-Fi and my PC is just not built for streaming, So, that's always a factor of living where I live. Is my PC sucks cock, my Xbox is old as shit, and my Wi-Fi sucks dick. It's kind of the way the cookie crumbles for circumstances that I'm in right now. But it'll get better. I'll get myself a nice PC, maybe even a laptop. I'm not sure if you can plug laptops into 2 monitors or not, but I prefer it to do that, because I don't like streaming with only one monitor. It kind of it makes everything so much more complicated, and you have to do so much more extra bullshit just to make it work, So, I'm just, the main problem is money when it comes to my life. Money wasn't a factor when I was a child. My parents had good jobs, but since I moved to where I'm at now, it's completely changed. Unfortunately, it's just the way life goes sometimes, which, I never let where I'm at socially, like economically, I never let that bring me down. Just because I know being broke is a temporary thing, being rich is a temporary thing, and life itself is a temporary thing, So you try not to let the small things get to you, but if I am going to be poor, I want to be poor on my own. I don't want to have to think about my parents struggling, So once I get out of the house, they have to stop taking care of my necessities, and I have to start taking care of them, which to relieve my parents of the stress of having to deal with taking care of me will be a very relieving thing. A lot of stress will be taken off my shoulders. And that's just kind of how I always thought. So it's like, I want to move out soon so I can stop worrying the old folks. But I just, I need a boost. I don't know what that boost is going to be, whether that be motivation or a license or a job. but I need a boost in something for sure. And whether that boost comes to me willingly or not, I needs to happen. So, maybe I get put in a situation where, I'm forced into working by like some African prince or something. The burden of having to pay for my things gets taken off my parents, and I get to work and make money. So if it's not willingly, at least it's for a cause. But I don't know why I'm talking about that. It's not like I'm gonna get fucking sex trafficked or nothing like that. What I'm trying to say is I want to start my life, but I just don't know the way to go about it. And I feel like that's what a lot of people have to say. And I feel like that's how I feel as well. Because for me, I can save fucking money. I can not buy shit. But I've just never had a reason not to. So I feel like once I get my own money, once I get my own checks, I'll start to save the money a lot more. And I'll start to be able to budget and work on my money. And when I get to my own house, I never want to be bored. So I'm either going to be streaming, YouTube, work, or maybe, one day, maybe soon YouTube will be my work. And that'll, that's if everything goes right and my dreams become reality. But that kind of reminds me of like, that grandpa that blew up recently because somebody noticed that he uploads videos and gets like 20 views and upload. That's me too. If you guys want to give me some popularity, throw me some popularity, I mean, that's fine with me. You know what I'm saying? But, I obviously want to work, have YouTube be my full thing. And obviously, I've been thinking of new ways for this podcast. I've been thinking about putting a couch in my room. But then again, I'm like, well, what's the point of putting a couch in my room? Because I'm just going to be sitting by myself. Unless my friends will be down to do another one, which I'm sure they will be. But I just don't have a good setup for that right now. And, to get that setup going on, I probably need to buy a futon or something, get rid of the bed in my room, because I just simply don't have enough room, for a couch and a bed. So I'd have to get rid of my bed, get the futon, which I've slept on couches fucking 40% of my life, It's only the last few years where I've really had a bed to myself. So, I mean, I can sleep on a couch, I can sleep on a futon, it's fine. And I really want to get this podcast thing unlocked because I like talking. I like one thing that people will never know about me, or I guess they will if they watch these, but I love to talk. I love to talk about my things that I like. I like to talk about things that other people like. I like to yap about bullshit. I like to talk. But I'm not a very social person, so I don't talk, It's kind of like a weird, I don't know what it's called when you're between life and death. It's called something like that. It's like, begins with an L, like limbo. It's a weird limbo where it's like, I like talking, I like yapping, I like talking a lot, but I choose not to because I am scared to do it to people I don't really know. And even people I do know, I don't really like to talk to a whole lot just because I don't want to bother them, or if they're not interested in something, I don't want to bore them. So that's why I talk to the camera, That sounds so fucked up. That's why I talk to a camera, because nobody else wants to listen to me. But it might be true, might not be, but I will continue this podcast just because I think it's entertaining, and I think people looking back and watching these podcasts, they'll realize kind of who I am, build the character, just in case I ever lose myself in the popularity, which will never happen, by the way. I'm not going to lose myself in money or wealth or an abundance of things, just because that's never really been who I am. And especially nowadays, I've kind of come to terms that I don't want to change who I am. I like the man that I am today. Obviously, I want to become stronger with my faith. But aside from that, obviously I could be more social, but I like the man who I am compared to who I used to be, as I said earlier. So I don't think I'll ever lose myself to popularity or fame or nothing, just because people who do that are generally just, they weren't 100% themselves anyway before the fame, so when they got the fame, it molded them. And for me, I've gone through a lot of bullshit, I've gone through a lot of stuff, so I've molded myself into the person who I like, and even though sometimes I can be a little socially awkward, sometimes I can act a little, slow. Let's just not get it twisted. I know who I am, and I know who I will be always. And it's kind of like you wish for fame until you have it, and then you want to be anonymous again. Which again, I think people who act like that are not really, like, they don't understand that the privilege of being popular is something that not a lot of people understand, because you can inspire people with your popularity. You can help people. Inspiring people and helping people through the internet is a very popular thing. But also it can, like me, I would not be around if it wasn't for some inspirational shit I saw online. I wouldn't be around. I'd be off somewhere, I don't know where. But, I've been able to lock in because of some people who inspired me through the internet, and I want to do that as well. I want to give people motivation to keep on going, because it does get better. It does get better. You might be in a bad spot, but it does get better, and that's what I keep telling myself, and it has gotten better. But right now, I'm kind of at a point in my life where it's like I'm just waiting for something to happen. I'm no longer living. I'm reacting to the stimuli around me, which, not ideal, but also it's not the worst thing ever. I could be fucking homeless, which, I've never been homeless before, so that's nice. I mean, I've lived in a trailer, but that was, it's not homeless, it's still a trailer, that's still a roof over your head, that's still AC, that's still a place to sleep. So I don't take that for granted at all. In the place I'm at now, I mean, it's a house, so that's nice, but I'm waiting for my own spot, and for my moving situation, I'm wondering if I want to move into an apartment or rent out a house, because renting out a house would be preferable. Just because, I don't know, apartments can be weird because you can be a little too loud and then get in trouble for being loud in an apartment. Or you can be upstairs stomping, because me, I walk heavy. That's something that people have told me a lot. I walk heavy. So if I was above somebody, I would probably keep them up all night, because I like to pace. I'm a pacer. I like to pace and think about stuff. I like to pace and daydream. So, I don't want to disturb the person below me. So that's why I'm not exactly 100% on board with in an apartment, just because there's a lot more limitations if you were just rented out a house, And renting out a house, I'm not even sure if it's more expensive. Like, some of the apartments in the places that I've looked are same price, if not more. And, it's something that you have to compromise, right? Like, do you want to live in a spot where, okay, an apartment is in a more convenient location, it's in the center of a city, versus a house where you don't have nearly as many rules, but you're further away from the action, and you may be further away from the city, That's just kind of something you have to debate in your mind. But, I mean, for me, I don't have a problem with either. Again, like I said, with the apartment, there are some downsides, and, with the house, there are some downsides, like, you could have a crazy landlord, Crazy landlord is kind of what turns me off to renting in general, you know what I mean? Like, I know I can't buy a house, but if I could, I'd rather just buy a house. Well, obviously, who wouldn't want to buy a house if they could? But I'm thinking, like, if I had the money to rent a house for 17 years or buy a house for 5 and try to make a way to support myself, I'd take the gamble on buying the house, simply because you don't have to listen to rules that the guy or girl gives you for living there. I don't know why I say guy. I tried to say owner, but a guy just came out. You can like, having to deal with that, it can make or break a living situation, because I've heard some stories, some messed up like rental owners, and owning a house obviously can have some downsides, where it's like you got to pay mortgages, you need payments, electricity, water, shit like that, where if you're renting, that's kind of taken care of for you, and you just got to slide over the money and they do the rest. But a lot of different things that would go through my mind when it comes to debating where I would want to stay. And there's a car passing by. Can't really do nothing about that, but some of my friends, they say that they'd rather live in an apartment, which I look at them and I go, okay, that's cool, but I don't think you've ever lived in an apartment before. Because me, I didn't live there. I was staying with my sister for like a month. I was in Orlando. I was staying in Orlando in an apartment upstairs. And, an apartment's cool and all, but a lot of those apartments in Orlando don't have air conditioning, or at least, not the greatest air conditioning. And, the floors are creaky, so the people below you, you're like self-conscious, so you're going to fuck up their mood, and you can't be too loud, and pet regulations. And there's a lot that goes into renting anything, where if you buy a house or rent a house, there's even a chance that they have less restrictions. But yeah, I feel like people who haven't lived in an apartment over-glorify it a little bit. And, me, I've never owned a house, so maybe I'm over-glorifying owning a house. But, gunshots again. But you can understand where I'm coming from when it comes to the whole mindset of, oh, well, I'd rather have a house, And, I haven't really explained that to the friend who wants to stay in an apartment, but I feel like... Sorry. I feel like if he brings it up again, I will. I'll tell him that I lived in one for a little bit, and I've experienced the ups and downs of it. Which, also the people who you live with can make or break an apartment, depending on, if they're fucking chill or not, obviously. You don't want a neighbor who fucking smokes meth and you're getting a contact high when it seeps through the ground. That's obviously something you don't want. But at this point, I'm just spouting bullshit. I've been taking the time to kind of see my life from an outside perspective when I cut off the camera right then. All I need is a push in the right direction and a little advice. And I feel like my life will kickstart itself, So I don't want to keep you guys here too long. And, the guy who's shooting an automatic whatever in the forest next to me, I'm gonna let him chill out. I'm gonna leave the forest. So I just want to say thank you for listening to the 6th episode of the Highly Intelligent Podcast, and thank you for bearing with me. And I know I talked about a lot of random bullshit today, but I feel like this was a very good fucking episode. I'm not gonna lie to you. And maybe Joe Rogan will invite me on to his next episode, or anybody else. If anybody else wants me to be on their podcast, I'll do it. I'm not opposed to the idea of collaborating with other YouTubers. Collaborating with other YouTubers is how you build your fucking your empire, of course. But I'll see you guys in the next video I make, and I'll see you in the next podcast. So I'll see you guys.